Hi everybody and welcome to another fly tying tutorial here on ProSportFisher.com. I'm Morten and today we're going to tie a shrimp. The hook we'll be using today is a Mustad Big Game C70 SD in a size 2. I'll just cover the entire shank with some tight wraps with 100 denier GSP thread. Cut off the snippet and continue the tight wraps all the way down to the end. This is super important for the rest of the fly to have a steady base to be tied on, so bear that in mind. The only and primary material in this fly is Pro MARBLEFOX in white color. You can of course choose any color in the MARBLEFOX range of Pro Sport Fisher, but for this fly we have chosen white. White is one of my favorite colors and can be used all year round if you, like me, is hunting sea run brown in the salt. I'll brush out the underfur. The underfur is going to be used as the dubbing base for the rest of the main body of the fly, and I'll be using the guard hairs as antennas. The bundle of guard hairs that you have will be split into two because it will be tied in two sections. So take the bundle, split it down the middle, and save the rest for later. The one half you have will be placed on top, and as a thumb rule, I normally tie in double the length of the hook, so that the tippet of the guard hairs is double the length of the hook. Tie it in with close wraps, making sure that the MARBLEFOX is staying right on top of the hook, and cover it with tight wraps approximately halfway up the shank, and cut away the remain. Now it's time to make a dubbing loop. Now what you do is that you will take your thread and go on the inside of the hooks. That will make the threads coming out just beside each other, not creating an angle where delicate materials can fall out of the loop unintentionally. Give it a few wraps around the loop lines and secure it. Go all the way forward and slightly backwards. Now we have the ready loop and it's time to add some material. Now we will be using the Pro ANGELHAIR in pearl blue. This will give some very nice effect and match the white color perfectly. So we'll just take out a small batch, just a little bit, and we will insert this into the loop, pull, and then you can adjust now where you want to have the angel hair placed in the loop and start spinning. Now once you have added some not too hard tension, you just give it a little bit of Velcro love to pull out fibers from the loop. Now we want to, in this fly, to have a certain glare around the first set of antennas. So all you need to do is spin it a little bit and pull out fibers. And when you're happy with the result, just tighten it up a little bit and you pull fibers back as you give it some wraps. Now, as the fibers is quite long, it's quite important that you pull the fibers backwards so that they doesn't get trapped or looped or in any way caught. So as you go forward, you pull hard back, give it approximately 3 wraps, a little bit of Velcro love to pull out the fibers, and now it's time to go backwards a little bit. This gives us a little bit of a bulk, which is the perfect exit for when we will do the next set of dubbing material. Pull back, make sure that no fibers is caught or looped, and then take the main thread and lock everything in place. And you will have that nice glare around the guard hairs. Cut away the rest of the unused loop and a little bit more Velcro love. If the fibers has become a little bit too long, you can just take a scissor and trim it. Don't cut it straight, but let the scissor glide through the fibers. Now, for locking down the shrimp shell that will be added later, we need to add a little bit of monofilament, which will be functioning as ribbing. And we'll just take a 0.2 millimeter monofilament, lock it on the underside of the hook, go forward, pull the snippet back and secure it with some tight wraps, and cut away the snippet. Now, with the monofilament out of the way, you can see it's parked behind the jaws. It's time for another dubbing loop, and just clean that out. Go on the inside again to make sure that the threads are aligned perfectly and the exit point is as close together as possible. Go around, and now you have two perfectly aligned threads, which will be used to insert the dubbing mix that we'll be making in a second. Just go forward with your thread and leave the dubbing loop open. Now it's time for the underfur that we combed out in the beginning, and we'll just take a small piece of that, take a little bit more of that angel hair, cut that into approximately 1 inch in length, which is approximately the same length as the fibers in the underfur of the MARBLEFOX, and mix it between your fingers. Now, as the mix becomes uniform, you know that you are close to having a usable product. So you just stretch it a little bit, put it into the dubbing loop. Now you can adjust it so that if you want to have a cigar shape, you can pull in both ends. But we'll just have a uniform shape here, and you just give it a little bit more Velcro love, so that you will have some of the fibers and some of the angel hair sticking out of the dubbing brush that you are making. Now, once you are happy with the shape and the length of the fibers and the thickness of the center part, it's time to wrap it around. Just give it a little bit more there. Now, it's the same as you did with the angel hair. Pull the fibers back, and now you just take each individual wrap and place in front of the other, pulling fibers back along the process, making sure that no big loops is being caught there or some other funny stuff. And you just go forward, one wrap at a time. Let's take that thread all the way to the eye, and as we approach the eye, we'll just finish it off by locking everything down with the main thread at approximately 4 millimeters before the eye. Cut off the loop, pull everything back, a few more wraps to secure everything, and of course the good old Velcro brush to make everything fluffy. Now what I'll do is that I'll cut off the fibers on the top. We don't need those, and if you just put the shell on there without cutting them, it will give a lot of material sticking out underneath the shell, which is not desirable and will most likely make the fly ride upside down. Now flip the fly around, and it's time to cut off some of that material on the sides. Now we are interested in having fibers exiting the fly directly underneath the shank, not from the sides. So what I'll do is I'll take a line which is approximately from the eye of the hook and to the point of the hook, and the shrimp shape is more or less coming to life now. We take the last and remaining set of guard hairs. We're going to place those on top and lock them into position with just a few wraps. Now the reason that I put in those last set of fibers is that we want to have some guard hairs exiting at the just underneath the shell, and this will assist in having the flight riding the correct way. Now what we do is that we take some Pro UV resin thin flex, and we're going to make the base hard so that when we come with our shell and we lock it down in position with the monofilament, we will not draw the monofilament line down into the shell. So I'll just put a thin layer of thin flex on here and then sap that. That will make sure that all fibers is in the correct position, and that the top of the fly is becoming quite hard so that we don't pull the monofilament down into the fly. Now we take the Pro Shrimpshell GEN2 in a medium. We choose a clear color because we want the white color underneath to show. Put that on top. Make sure that it is placed at the right way. And we just hold it in place and secure it with just 1 or 2, perhaps 3 wraps. Now it's ready to set. We pull a little bit and we take the monofilament and we go around the shrimp shell in order to secure it to the fly, and this way the fly becomes very close to indestructible. Of course the thin flakes is reinforcing the fly enormously, but using the 0.2 millimeter monofilament nylon, it's a very easy way. It will disappear because we're going to coat it with some UV resin on the top afterwards, and it just makes everything tight and nice. You can glue it directly on there, but this is the way and method I prefer to use the shrimp shells. So as we reach the eye, we're going to lock the monofilament in place. Just give it a few tight wraps with the GSP thread and cut away the ribbing. There's a small snippet from the shell, take that away as well. And now we're ready to give it some reinforcement coating. The thin flex has enormous adhesive properties, so what we're going to do is we're going to give it a thin coat. We're going to put some on top, and we're going to use a small brush to distribute it evenly across the fly. This is not necessary, but I like to do it because it will just make your fly indestructible. So just a thin layer. Using a brush will also remove any air bubbles that you might have in the resin while applying it. So just give it a thin layer. And when everything is coated, you just give it a nice sap with the UV light, and everything will be rock solid. 5-6 seconds of UV light will cure the thin flex to its maximum potential. So it doesn't help to give it 10-15 seconds, because after 5 seconds it's set. I will now give it a layer more. It's better to give it several thin layers than trying to give it one massive layer in one go. So just be meticulous when you coat the fly. Just give it on the top, underneath the tie point, making sure that no wraps will get loose when you fish this fly hard. And give it a sap with the UV light again. Now it's time to dome the eyes, so we'll switch out the thin flakes with the builder. This is almost gel-like, so that you can add material that without it running into other materials. And this is used just to dome the eyes and give a more round effect. So let's put a drop on there. As you can see, it will really give a 3D effect to the eye on the shrimp, making sure that no resin is touching other materials. If you have something that is running, just take the brush, remove it, and then zap it. Now you can see the doming on the eye. It will have the underlaying surface, which in this case is black, really pop. And we put another drop on the other side. Adjust it. If it's too big, you can just take a little bit away with the brush and zap that with the UV light. Now the final thing that we need to do to finish up the fly is a little bit of trimming. One of the risks when tying shrimp flies is that you add too much material underneath the fly. This will make the fly right upside down. So what we do is that we remove some of the fibers, especially what is close to the eye of the hook, and just take, if there is loops or any fibers which are caught, just give it a little bit of Velcro to pull them out, pull them back, and trim and remove any loose fibers that is sticking in the wrong direction or just not sitting right. Just be a bit careful not to overdo it, because you still want fibers on the underside of the fly. Well, that was all for today. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me through Facebook, Instagram, or here on YouTube. Thank you for watching.